This question of transparency, I think, is the deeper and more important one. And I think the point that we all kind of agree with at the table is that there's no great democratic stake in whether we can see a picture of the president and Tiger Woods golfing. I mean, I think that's my own personal view. Yeah, I don't care about that. What I do care about is like
un-American.
Yeah. But what I do care about is, say, the administration's, the OLC's legal rationale for a decision that it can kill American citizens in certain circumstances if they're an al-Qaeda operative.
Whether they can do that here
without due process, whether they can do that here, and on this issue, particularly on national security issues, I feel like there really has been a transparency problem. I want to just show a little bit of montage of the White House responding to questions about, say, the drone program over the years.
In the President's Google Plus video chat, he acknowledged for the first time the classified drone program. Why did he do that?
I'm sorry, can you be more specific?
The former Director of National Intelligence, retired Admiral Dennis Blair, said, I believe yesterday, that drone attacks, unilateral drone attacks in Pakistan actually did more harm to U.S. national security interests than good. Does the White House have any opinion about these remarks?
We believe our relationship with Pakistan is essential to fighting terrorism and terrorists.
The New York Times reports that Vice President Biden, in these sessions talking about the way forward, has pressed specifically for a strategy that elevates the use of unmanned aerial vehicles, drones, and de-emphasizes U.S. combat forces on the ground. Can you tell us if that's true?
Major, I think you can understand why. I'm not going to get into internal discussions.
If that's true or not.
I'm not going to get into it.
Now, I understand, Robert, why. I mean,
you had to put that last picture up, didn't you?
Yeah, well, we got the guy. I guess, I should say in defense of White House press secretaries, they do not make the decision. They're the person who has to get sent out to say what we can and can't talk about. My sense is that they don't make the decision about whether you're not going to or not going to talk about the drone program. But do you think the White House has been forthcoming, sufficiently forthcoming? We have these 7 memos right now. We haven't seen any of those. The white paper got released right before Brennan by the White House, but leaked apparently. Do you think that you've been sufficiently forthcoming, and the White House has been sufficiently forthcoming on this stuff?
Well, I think you've seen recently the President discuss the need and desire to be more forthcoming. I certainly think there are aspects of that program that are and will remain highly sensitive and very secret. But let me give you an example here, Chris. When I went through the process of becoming press secretary, one of the first things they told me was, you're not even to acknowledge the drone program. You're not even to discuss that it exists. Wow. And so I would get a question like that, and literally I couldn't tell you what Major asked, because once I figured out it was about the drone program, I realized I'm not supposed to talk about it. But here's what's inherently crazy about that proposition. You're being asked a question based on reporting of a program that exists.
Right.
So you're the official government spokesperson acting as if the entire program, pay no attention to the man behind the curtain.
Right, yeah.
I think in many ways, and I think what the President has seen, and I have not talked to him about this, so I want to be careful. This is my opinion. But I think what the President has seen is our denial of the existence of the program, when it's obviously happening, undermines people's confidence overall in the decisions that their government makes. And in order to bolster that confidence and bolster the belief that we're making those correct decisions on this policy, you do have to lift the veil some to both acknowledge that it exists, as he's done, but also to do it in a way that provides better understanding. I will say, ironically, the time in which the President probably talked most about the drone program, interestingly enough, was in an interview on The Daily Show with Jon Stewart. So going back to that earlier discussion, well, why do you give this person or that person an interview? Jon Stewart asked a good question and then gave the President the space to give an answer. And my sense is that even though you might say, boy, I watched Jon Stewart, and Jon Stewart probably votes for Barack Obama other than Mitt Romney, John asks a very smart question and then gives the President the space to give him an answer and probably would have held him accountable if he would have not.
Oh, yeah. We took him to the woodshed 2 nights ago about these documents.
Well, I was actually just going to say, well, one thing, if Robert says that that's one of the first things that they went through when he was becoming press secretary, that means that they were thinking about this like in 2007. You know, I mean, like they were thinking about that they were going to hide the existence of this program, I mean, before Obama even really became.
Well, I mean, to be fair on the calendar, this would have been after the election in 2008, and I don't think the drone program has existed. Obviously, if you read any reporting, has existed well before Barack Obama got in office.
That this is something that you're going to go into the White House and not talk about. It's an interesting one, an interesting statement about what the priorities were for the administration. But I do also understand, I think this is an interesting sort of, almost goes back to our previous discussion, is that the reason to talk about the drone program is to avoid having secrecy about the drone program being the story.
Right.
Like it is the pressure of what is a story.
Look, the drone program it's a little bit of a tough case, right? Because in these cases, you know, you don't actually release information about CIA spies going to kill enemies of the United States. So, you know, we would never, if people had information about particular names of spies, etc., we would never. Robert Gibbs, when he was White House press secretary, wouldn't do that. Now, but I hear, and I think actually Robert made a very compelling argument for First Amendment principles, because over time these things do actually make people cynical about the government.
Yeah, and